Casey Scanlon here, going to give you a quick fishing report for Lake of the Ozarks. It's mid-July and the fishing's gotten a little bit tougher. You know, earlier in the summer there was a lot of current generating through the dam, so we had a lot of water flow which made the fish bite. So now it's gotten hotter. The water levels at Truman Lake have come back down to normal, and they've stopped releasing as much water through Bagnell Dam. So it's slowed the fishing down a little bit, and it's changed the fishing up from our last report. So on our last report, we talked a little bit about what was going to happen when they slacked that current off, and we're going to talk about that again today because these fish have definitely changed patterns a little bit. So water temperature is about 84 degrees, so it's really hot. We've had some really hot days, but we've had some nice days as well. Mornings are a little bit cooler. We've had some cloud cover on some days, so fishing's been a little bit of up and down. We've had some phenomenal days on the water. I've been catching a lot of big fish lately. We fished a couple tournaments. We fished the Wednesday nighter last week, and my buddy Corey and I got big bass with like a 5.5 pounder, and got second place in that, and then fished the week before on Thursday night with my buddy Kevin, and we ended up winning that tournament. So we've been around some quality fish, but we've had to stay on our toes to kind of keep around those fish, and tell you a little bit about what we've been doing to catch them. So water levels are pretty good right now. Last time we talked, we were talking about fishing shallow and fishing deep, and we just came off of a full moon, so the shallow bite is still hanging around there, if not getting stronger. We fished shallow the other day on a guide trip just because of boat traffic and because of lack of success fishing out deeper, and we pulled back in some coves and caught some really big fish. We caught one almost 6 pounds and several other nice keepers. So you can do a little bit of everything right now with this water level, and even in this 84 degree water temperature, you can catch them up shallow and out deep. So primarily been fishing that deeper depth, mid-range. A big worm is a player. This is the Tackle HD Hog Monster. Anytime it gets to the heat of the summer, I've got a big worm on. Got it on 20-pound Bass Pro Shops Flourocarbon. I've got it on a 7'6" Siren from 6 Gill heavy action rod, high speed gear ratio reel from 6 Gill as well. That's the Wraith, 3/8 ounce, ½ ounce tungsten, Bass Pro Shop sinker, and I keep that unpegged, just sliding around on the line there. 5/0 hook, deadly setup for summertime fishing. We're throwing that, on points, around brush piles. We're throwing it on bluffs. We're throwing it on dock cables. Just kind of anywhere and everywhere. It's a go-to bait this time of year. Has a lot of movement on the fall, and it gets to the bottom quickly, so it attracts the fish that are both suspended and on the bottom hanging around the cover. So I like to fish it around cover primarily, get it down to the bottom, fish it nice and slow through the cover. Just use your rod to feel that worm through the cover, and pick up on those subtle bites. So it's usually a real subtle bite, and it has been lately. We've been throwing that a lot of time in the evenings, so these tournaments I'm talking about are in the evenings, and we fish a little bit into dark, and in the evening and into dark, that is a tremendous bait. It's a big bait, so it has a lot of presence in the water. They can find it and they'll bite it. So a lot of bluegill up. Every full moon we're going to get the rest of the summer, there's going to be some bluegill that are going to come up real shallow and start spawning. So these shallow coves, these shallow boat docks, are real prime targets, any kind of shallow water cover. And so for that, I'm throwing the Tackle HD Brush Buster, or a Trophy Bass Company Pro Jig in a ½ ounce or 3/8, just depending on how shallow I want to go. So the Brush Buster, 5-inch bait, really good bait, mimics a bluegill, throwing green pumpkin type colors on that, dipping the tail in some chartreuse to give it a little bit of accent, make it look a little bit more like a bluegill. Again, 7'6", heavy action siren rod from 6 Gill, and a Wraith reel from 6 Gill as well. 8-to-1 gear ratio, 20-pound line, Hayabusa 4 or 5/0 hook, just like the worm. The worm, I'll even bump it up to a 6. That's a 114 worm hook from Hayabusa HD version, so it's the heavy duty. It's not going to flex on you. And the 6/0 version is great for the hog monster because it's a little bit bigger worm. It's a 12-inch worm as compared to a lot of the 10-inch worms that we throw in the summertime. So it's a big worm, really good at night, and really good for those big fish. The jig, something green pumpkin. This is our watermelon candy with a T-craw on the back, has a lot of movement, great little bait. So this is a 1/2 ounce right here. So 1/2 ounce is great. I can throw it around brush piles. I can throw it around deeper docks. A lot of these fish are really utilizing the docks and the cover around them right now, whether you're fishing shallow or deep. They want to get out of that shade, and the jig's always a great lure for that because you can skip it up underneath those boat docks. The Pro Jig has a real flat head on it, and it also goes through the brush cover and stands up on the bottom well. So it's a great all-around jig for fishing shallow and deep, and anything that kind of resembles a bluegill is going to get bites. We throw that a lot in the evening and at night as well. And for that, I'll switch to a black and blue just so they can see it better. In the evenings and in low light conditions, I like a darker color. On our guide trips, we've been fishing, a lot of spinning rods, stuff like that. And the bite's been getting tougher, so some finesse tactics have been really good. We've been throwing the Ned rig right here. Got it on a 7'2" Siren 6-gill rod, super sensitive rod, great for shaky heads, drop shots, Ned rigs. It's really the only spinning rod that I'm throwing nowadays. And this Dreadnought reel from 6-gill is awesome. It has one of the best drag systems that I've ever used, which is going to come in really handy next week when we're fishing for some big smallmouth bass up at Lake Champlain. So getting ready to head there for our next Major League Fishing Pro Circuit event. It's going to be our final one of the year, so looking forward to that. Spinning rod's going to come in handy. So if you're looking for one, man, look at the Siren, look at the Dreadnought. This is a really light combo, super sensitive and really durable, catches a lot of fish, and that drag system's phenomenal. So we're talking Ned rigs, shaky heads, wacky rigs. Been throwing a lot of wacky rigs, shallow and deep, on some suspended fish. We've been adding a little bit of weight to them, letting them get down there, throwing the Trophy Bass Company wacky weight. We're no longer selling a lot of those, but it's a great little tool for getting that bait down there. We hope to bring that back to you sometime. A lot of baits in play right now. We're throwing top waters in the mornings, everything from the worldwide buzzer from Tackle HD to walking baits to poppers. Those can work over deeper water, whether it's a point, deeper boat docks, or just getting up on the bank, covering some water or covering some of those shade lines. That becomes real important. These fish want to get out of that sun, get in the shade. So a lot of times as the sun gets up, it'll cast shade lines on some of these banks. So I like to look for shadier banks to fish in the mornings, and in this heat it's a little bit more comfortable too. So what else do we got going on? Crankbait bite's been pretty good. So mainly, the last report we've been fishing all around the lake, and the last few weeks we've been primarily focusing on the Hurricane Deck Bridge and down. So bite's been really good. It's going to continue to be up and down. It's going to vary day to day whether they're pulling current generation or not, but the fish are biting. So we're headed off to Lake Champlain here in the morning. So going to be gone for a couple weeks, but this report should cover your bases for the next few weeks. The rest of the summer, these fish are going to be kind of doing the same thing, hanging around brush piles, trying to suspend around docks, and getting up shallow around cover. So good luck to you until we talk to you next time, and good luck fishing out there.